and we're here with the American Heroes Group Roundtable with partner Chicago Regional Office Veterans Benefits Administration. The panelists who we'll be talking to today are Adam Swant, Veteran Service Center Manager, and Jeff Weigel, who is the U.S. Army Medic Veteran and Decision Review Officer. What we'll be talking about today is appeals, so they're going to be giving us the rundown on appeals and making sure we understand what we're supposed to be doing as veterans. So very, very good. So welcome, Adam. Welcome, Jeff. How are you?
Very good, sir. Thank you for having me.
Oh, good. Excellent. Excellent. So let's see. Who wants to swing first, Adam or Jeff?
Yeah, so this is Adam. So
Okay.
I'm going to actually defer to Jeff for most of it because Jeff's, as he was introduced, the decision review officer, so he's one of our best subject matter experts who's actually working to resolve our appeals. So he's the expert, so I'm gonna let him talk.
Okay, great.
Well, thank you, Adam, and thank you for bragging me up. Just to give a little historical background, prior to the Appeals Modernization Act, which was signed into law in August of 2017, VA processed appeals. It would always start off with a decision that was made. If the veteran disagreed with the decision that was made, he or she would file what was called a notice of disagreement, and that would initiate the appellate process. From there, the case was reviewed. If the benefit could be granted, the benefit was granted, and that resolved the appeal. On the other hand, if the disagreement could not be resolved to the veteran's satisfaction, what would happen would be a statement of the case would be issued.
Okay.
From there, the veteran would appeal that statement of the case to the Board of Veterans' Appeals. Now, those cases are currently being processed in what we call the legacy system, because again, those were appeals that were prior to the adoption of the Appeals Modernization Act.
Okay, yes. And how does the Appeals Modernization Act affect the appeal process now? How's it different?
The Appeals Modernization Act gives the veteran more choices as to how he or she wishes to proceed in resolving their disagreement. As I mentioned with the legacy appeals, it always followed a predictable pathway.
Yes.
Again, a notice of disagreement was filed. If the appeal couldn't be granted, it would eventually end up at the Board of Veterans' Appeals. Now, the veteran has, with any decision rendered after February 19th, 2019, and I can't stress that date enough, February 19th, 2019 was the date that the Appeals Modernization Act went live. Any decision rendered on or after that date allows the veteran to follow one of three different pathways. The first pathway, if the veteran disagreed with the decision, he or she could submit what's called a supplemental claim. A supplemental claim is where the veteran may have new and relevant evidence which may change the outcome of the previous decision. And the veteran has the opportunity to file a supplemental claim within 1 year of the decision with which they disagreed.
Okay.
A second pathway would be the higher level review. This is a situation where the veteran believes an error was made on the part of the VA, whether that's to deny service connection or whether that's in regards to an evaluation that was assigned or an effective date for an evaluation that was assigned. The higher level review is a situation where it's called a closed record. There's no opportunity to submit additional evidence, but if you elect a higher level review, the evidence is reviewed. The previous evidence, which was used in the previous decision, is reviewed again, and if the decision review officer can arrive at a different decision, they have the authority to make that change.
Okay, I see.
So that is the second pathway, again, called the higher level review. And then the third option is to appeal directly to the Board of Veterans' Appeals. Again, one of the big differences between the Appeals Modernization Act and what we call the legacy system is in the legacy system, you didn't have the opportunity to take your case directly to the Board of Veterans' Appeals and have it decided by a veterans law judge. Now, with the AMA, you have that opportunity. With an appeal directly to the Board of Veterans Appeals, you can opt for a closed record where the Veterans Law Judge reviews the case and renders a new decision. You can opt for a hearing with the Veterans Law Judge, and again, based upon that hearing, they may remand the case back to the regional office for further development, or they could make a decision. And they also accept new and relevant evidence as well, so to be considered again in the BVA decision. So those are the three pathways that are now available to you as an individual who disagrees with a VA decision, a benefits decision.
Okay, so so maybe you can sort of elucidate that a little bit more about the timing of the appeals process. So, if you made a claim, let's say back in 2005 or 2007, or earlier on, in let's say 2003, if you made a claim at that point, you are still within the legacy system, correct? Or
well, if you filed your initial claim back in 2003 or 2005 or 2007, only if you are still, if that issue is still pending, you would have a what's considered a legacy appeal.
Okay. Yes.
Now, you do have the opportunity to opt out of the legacy pathway and into the Appeals Modernization Act, but that's only if you receive a supplemental statement of the case or a statement of the case. We give you the option within 60 days to opt into one of those three pathways, again, that I mentioned, the supplemental claim, the higher level review, or the appeal directly to the board. In the situation you're speaking of, if the claim was initially filed that many years ago, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm saying it's kind of unlikely that the case would still be pending unless it is a rather old appeal in the legacy system.
Yes, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So what do people need to know about getting the correct paperwork together, making sure that they go for the appropriate medical evaluations, those kinds of things, in order to support their appeal? Okay.
Like I said, under the AMA, any decision rendered on or after February 19th of 2019, an attachment is sent out with the notification letter. It's called a VA Form 20-0998, and that form is entitled "Your Rights to Seek Further Review of Our Decision." And it's a very well-written form, in my opinion. As a veteran myself, I read through this, and it's very well written as far as how the veteran needs to proceed if he or she disagrees with any aspect of a decision that's rendered. Again, I mentioned it talks directly about the supplemental claim, the higher level review, and the appeal to the board. And on the second page of that document, it does tell them which forms they need to fill out if they wish to pursue one of those three pathways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe you can give us the call number, for people to call in, or how they get in touch with the appeals process system. Is there a way they can contact this or learn more information about it? And I'm going to have you say it now so we can repeat it later on too. So you still have a little bit more time.
Well, I mean, I know the VA does have this on their website as far as va.gov.
Okay.
For the appeals and specifically for the Veterans Benefits Administration. I would like to point out the names of the forms, if that would be of help.
Oh, yes.
To individuals. Yes. And again, this is documented on that form that's sent out with every decision that the VA makes.
Okay.
But if you wish to pursue a supplemental claim, the VA form to utilize is the VA Form 20-0995.
Okay.
If an individual wished to opt for a higher level review, they would utilize VA Form 20-0996.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they wished to appeal their disagreement directly to the Board of Veterans Appeals in Washington, they would utilize VA Form 10182.
Okay.
And again, each of these forms has the instructions as far as what they need to do, as far as how to fill it out. They have to specify which issues they disagreed with. They have to identify the date of the decision, so that VA can identify the decision quickly with which they disagreed, and how to best proceed with that.
Okay. And what about for our veterans who have disabilities? Is there anything, those who are, who've come back from combat who, have had, traumatic brain injuries or, have lost limbs, those kinds of things? Anything that you would recommend for them? Because sometimes it's hard for them, to focus and figure out how to get some things done. But is there anything that you have for them as far as looking at the appeals process?
Well, I mean, if they have any questions, they can certainly call us at the VA toll-free number. That would be one possible avenue, and that number is 1-800-827-1000. So 800-827-1000.
Okay.
On the other hand, I would strongly suggest if they are having issues and they don't have someone like a trusted family member or a trusted friend to advise or assist them in filling out any of these forms and initiating the appellate process, if they would have a representative. They could have an attorney represent them. They could have one of many veteran service officers represent them.
Okay.
And provide advice as to how to proceed, because it is a big decision as far as, if they disagree with the decision that the VA renders, which pathway is best for them specifically, because sometimes the supplemental claim might be the best path to go down. The higher level review path could be best, and sometimes an appeal directly to the board is more appropriate.
Oh, see, yes. So that's something that they could actually discuss with them and make sure that they're going down the right path.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And
and just like always, they have 1 year from the date of the VA's decision to either go with the supplemental claim, the higher level review, or the appeal directly to the board. So it's not like they have to make a decision immediately. They've got a little time to think it over as to which pathway they would wish to proceed in.
Okay, very good. And one other thing is, with the COVID going on, it seems like I can't even go and get a slice of pizza without thinking about COVID these days.
Right.
So how does that affect the operations you have going now for the appeals process, and is there any effect right now?
Well, as of right now, any appeals that require examinations, are pretty much on hold. We're kind of in a holding pattern as far as that's concerned, especially examinations which require in-person examinations. For example, a knee, just as an example, a knee examination requires range of motion studies, and that's not something that you can really do over a Skype exam.
Right. Yes.
You definitely have to have an examiner in person to measure the knee's range of motion, and things of that nature, crepitus and X-rays for arthritis. Those are things that pretty much have to be done in person. And again, with COVID, those are basically in a holding pattern at this point. Once the VA is assured that it's safe to proceed, then we would be doing more of those in-person examinations. On the other hand, if an appeal simply required, let's say, a medical opinion, for example, there's a question as to whether one disability, like the right knee, might be secondary to the left knee, which is service-connected already. That might be something which could be resolved, and an examination review could be done without an in-person exam. So these are all, it's definitely a case-by-case basis, but in general, any examination that's required that requires an in-person exam is really in a holding pattern at this time.
Yes. Yeah, and maybe you can, any success stories you can talk about with our veterans, because I know that the VA does a great job if you go and and work with them and make sure that you are presenting yourself and you actually comply with the paperwork things. But anything that that stands out to you that makes you proud, because I know as a veteran you served, and this as a medic as well, because I saw you were front lines looking at those kinds of issues. Is anything that that stands out to you, or?
Well, I mean, as we always say, I mean, we do everything we can to grant the benefit that's sought by the veteran. It's only when we can't find a pathway to benefit entitlement that we must deny a claim. So, as a disabled veteran myself, I'm looking for any opportunity to make a positive impact in the veterans that I serve. I've had some successes. There's many, none that really jump to mind at this particular moment, but we do our very best to provide proper and just decisions to the appellants that we serve.
Yes, yeah. Because actually I was in the Army National Guard, and I did a couple of tours in Iraq, but I remember I was the state surgeon actually for the Army National Guard, and Tammy Duckworth, when she had her helicopter incident, I remember after that coming back, and actually when they opened that highway, the Veterans Highway, I actually went across it with her, and then gave her one of my flags that I had when I was over in Iraq, and she just broke down crying because she said she had lost her flag in the helicopter, when she went down.
Sure.
And what she had to go through, what a tremendous spirit. So we have to remember that even our veterans who, have disabilities are stellar components of our society still, and still serve despite those things that have happened to them. But it should be recognized when those things happen to them, and they get the support they need, to get through it. But I'm really extremely excited that you're there, working on behalf of our veterans. But is any other topics that you'd like to talk about surrounding what you see at the VA, and some of the things that you think we need to know about within the VA, and how our veterans are being taken care of?
Well, first, let me say thank you for your service. I was not aware that you were involved specifically with Ms. Duckworth, but again, as you pointed out, we have lots of veterans that are making very, very valuable contributions, whether they are serving in the federal service. There's many, many fellow veterans who served in all different branches that I work with at the VA, and there's just a special call to serve that I think is just an extension of our veterans' service, regardless of the branch that they were in, and that has continued on for many of us at the Chicago VA regional office specifically, but nationally as a whole. Without knowing every detail about that, I know that there's a lot of veterans who serve in the VA, both the hospitals, the Veterans Benefits Administration, and the Veterans Cemeteries. So, I would imagine that for many, the call to serve their country the first time around in one of the branches of the military is a strong guiding factor in leading them to pursue service in another branch of government after their discharge from the military. Yes. And again, I'm very proud to serve my country. Was proud to do it in the Army, and when I got out of the Army, I applied and got into the VA and have been there since 2001, and it's still a great job.
That's incredible.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yes. So it's a great job. It's an opportunity to continue to serve in a different capacity, but again, an opportunity to serve men and women who have earned their benefits, both physical disabilities and the hidden disabilities in terms of mental and emotional disabilities that are a result of their service. And again, like I said before, any opportunity I have to grant the benefits that the veterans are seeking, I do so happily.
Yeah, because I realized that you were also the recipient of the 2018 Disabled American Veterans and Illinois VA Employee of the Year for your work with the disabled veterans. So it sounds like you are one of my favorite stellar kind of people from military service. Thank you so much for your service.
Thank you. I can't thank the DAV for honoring me with that award. You know, it's I'm very proud of that.
Yes,
I think
yes.
that's just based on the work that I try to do every day and the attitude that I bring to the job. It's nice to be recognized for doing that kind of work and bringing that positive attitude to work every day. I'm just doing what I can, one case at a time, one person at a time, and they're for many of us, for all of us at the VA, they're not claims numbers. They're not numbers in line. They're real people. Every person, every case that you pick up, you touch a life, and I don't take that for granted. I don't take that lightly.
Yes.
I realize I have an opportunity to impact every veteran that I come across, whether I speak to them in person or not, or even on the phone, even if I never make contact with them. My review of their case is an opportunity to impact them, their family members, and everyone that they know. So, I take pride in trying to do it right every time.
Yeah, I almost was brought to tears. I remember in the past, I had a veteran who was down in southern Illinois, but he was a farmer who actually had lost actually both of his legs and his right arm in a vehicle explosion, and his wife was working like 3 jobs trying to take care of him, and I read this story, and I mean I was just weeping, and we just need to do something to make sure that our veterans are taken care of, and I'm so glad you were there to take care of them. But we're at the last minute, so what I want to do is just mention what you want to as far as a closing remark, and then maybe you can give that veteran's number again, telephone number, and
Sure.
You gave us a wonderful explanation of appeals, so thank you.
Well, thank you. And again, just to reiterate, any decision that's rendered by the VA after February 19th of 2019, you will receive with that a statement or a form which clarifies which of the 3 pathways you, as a veteran who has a disagreement, can choose in order to have that disagreement addressed. And again, I'll just touch upon them: supplemental claim pathway, the higher level review pathway, or the appeal directly to the board. I can't emphasize enough to read through that document, that 2-page document, so that you understand what your rights are and what your pathways are to have your decision reviewed. And again, as requested, that number to contact the VA is 1-800-827-1000.
Great.
800-827-1000.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Adam and Jeff. You have really served our nation well and are continuing to help our veterans. So we're very proud of your service.